Though everything in him cried out to rescue those still in the village, Ian knew his brother was right. No sense in seeking a needless death. They were going to be in enough trouble for refusing to attack in the first place. Reluctantly, he nodded. Angus said, "We'll help as we can and then slip into the hills for a time." They raced their horses to the creek, where they found women and children, many of them wounded. Innocents, every one. The Prince of Wales! Ian spit on the ground. He and Angus were joined by a cousin, Duncan, who had also declined to join the prince's butchery. Though none of them were experienced healers, all of them had tended to battlefield wounds before, and they set to work with little conversation. Ian bound a gash on the arm of a woman not much older than his daughter, Morrigan. A warrior in her own right, Morrigan had ridden with them earlier today. She had suffered a nasty cut in battle, and he had sent her home for his wife, Eveline, to tend. Then he turned to face a young woman who was wailing over a dead infant in her arms, his tiny leg slashed to the bone. The child had bled to death. With agonising motions, Ian caressed the young mother's face and gently pried the boy from her arms. "Please, let me hold him. Just a wee bit longer." She bit her lip, nodding as tears streamed down her red face. She sank to the ground, weeping, face in hands. Ian turned to face his brother, raising the child to make sure Angus could see. "I'm glad Morrigan did not witness this." He drew a breath, determined that Angus should understand how he felt, staring down at a lad who would never have the chance to wage his own battle, never have the chance to look out for his own family, his own country. "I'll not follow the prince in battle again, Angus. He disgraced the title of knight today, he and the men with him." Angus said nothing, probably hoping Ian would get his emotions under control and see reason. Angus's reason. 'Tis how it had been all their lives, except once. Ian turned and helped the woman to her feet, then returned the child to her arms, whispering assurances that he would help bury the child, that while all seemed lost, God had not abandoned her. He looked down the hill to the smoking village. The English were gone now, and the people were returning to what was left of their homes. They looked as dazed and disoriented as Ian felt, but he was rapidly regaining his bearings. Scotland's king had been treated with treachery, with no hint of honour. The Earl of Pembroke had declined to fight when Bruce challenged him, saying the day was too far gone. The two generals had made a gentleman's agreement to commence the battle the next day at first light, a customary agreement. Bruce and his army had made camp and bedded down for the night. However, despite his assurances to Bruce, Pembroke had waited until the Scots were sufficiently off guard, with tents pitched and supper cooking, and then he'd attacked, routing the Scots and nearly capturing Bruce in the chaos. Where was the law of chivalry yesterday, Angus? Pembroke did not keep the faith, and neither did the prince. Mayhap Gordy had the right of it, giving his loyalty to Bruce. This war with England had divided the loyalty of many Highland clans. Ian had sided with his brother Angus, Laird of Clan MacNab, against his son, Gordon. Gordy had died fighting with Bruce at Dalry Pass against one of their own clansmen, John of Lorne. Angus looked around. The three Scotsmen were alone now. He said, "I'll not speak poorly about the dead. Gordy did what he felt he had to. I accept that, though I disagreed with him. 'Tis bad enough your son defied his laird. Ye and I can't change sides now without incurring the prince's wrath, and through him, King Edward himself. Which king shall we serve? An honourable Scot or a butcher and his son? King Edward had nothing to do with the prince's behaviour today. Clan MacNab will fight for Edward so long."